intros of fucking 2020.
I'm really happy that I don't have to tell my really subpar
backstories.
sporting history.
Hey, if you want a backstory on
backstories.
Jack Edwards, you should be aware of the man because we only cater to long-time listeners of the show. But if you haven't put in that spade work, scroll back about probably like a couple of hundred episodes at this point, and then you can get the backstory on who this man is.
3 years of scrolling and 100 UFC episodes, and you'll find me somewhere.
Volkanovski's entire championship arc occurred in between these catch-ups.
Yeah, I don't follow the UFC, so I'm like, I don't know. I loosely know who Volkanovski is because I think it's bad that Aussies are just getting into professional punch-ons and not just like pub ones. But
this is the thing. I was pretty bullish on UFC. Sorry, not pretty bullish. It was my favorite fucking sport. And then a guy from my hometown became the goat of it. Imagine you got into sprinting and some cunt from Marrickville ran faster than Usain Bolt.
It would be nuts.
It's different. It is different because it's like fastest match. Best fighter in the world.
It's the same. I think there's something like, similar. I think maybe UFC has done such a better job of creating, being capitalist, making money out of it more than sprinting. But at the base of it, the sort of Olympic Games, you would have the Greco-Roman wrestlers, and there would have been some Roman guy or some Greek guy who stood amongst the rest as the true big dog of the Olympics, probably completely naked on sand and just dominating. And natty as well.
The world's last natty athlete.
Any big sprinters coming out of Sydney at all?
Oh, mate.
I mean, Rowan obviously we didn't have any representation in the 100 meters since the Sydney 2000 when Matt Shervington ran. Yep.
What? So Shervo was our last guy. Did Shervo make the Olympic final?
No. There was a bit of anticipation because he was a very good under 20 athlete. But it never really converted over. And we had Patrick Johnson who ran 9.87, I think, or he's a legitimate sprinter and he did that in Japan and I think in the ACT. But as far as the actual Olympic representation goes, I mean, Josh Clark qualified for the Rio Olympics, but wasn't able to hit a Olympic standard in the months prior, unfortunately.
What's the Olympic standard?
Well, it changes a little bit every year, and now there's this complex point system as well. But an auto qualifier should be 10 flat now. But now you have to be top 50 in the world. There are sort of like points assigned to different meetings. Different meetings are given.
Is this to combat drug testing? Because there was a thing in weightlifting. We used to have team qualification. So Ilya Ilin from Kazakhstan, he could stay at home, sauce to the gills with his feet up. Meanwhile, he sends out the troops to qualify the team. In the current weightlifting Olympic qualification, you as the individual need to attend a certain minimum amount of competitions to expose you to international drug testing. Is this the purpose of the restructure in the running as well? Sorry, track.
I'm not 100% sure what I don't know if it's purely for drugs, but I don't think it is. And there's a lot of controversy as well because it definitely has a bit more of a Northern Hemisphere bias because of just the availability of competitions in Europe and in America. But it is what it is. Aussies are figuring it out. More Aussies are going to the Northern Hemisphere in our winter now more than ever, and the sporting body supporting it a little bit better. So the whole quality of the sport's good. No, it doesn't affect me. I don't coach Olympians like
Brandon Niccardi, you would say otherwise.
No, I think that was Chris. Was
it Chris?
Yeah.
And you should have just ran with it, man. I called him a international rugby player. I'm pretty sure he is. I know he's flown to some Polynesian islands to fucking play rugby. To me, that's an international rugby player. Apparently not.
I mean, technically, I'm an international sprinter because I've sprinted overseas, but it doesn't mean I'm
an Olympic Games. That counts.
Yeah, and I did some random, when I was living in Germany, obviously I did an indoor meet there, and I also had this big sort of bender weekend in Amsterdam, and then I followed it up with 2 days later at a competition in Tilburg, which is a regional town in the Netherlands.
Oh yeah.
Just for the vibes, it was, and I met a coach who I wanted to meet over there. So yeah, international sprinter.
What did you run?
I ran 11.2, like a 23.5.
Damn,
like
that's nice.
No, it's not.
What's a nice like? What's your standard? Like, if you want to put a lot of your stocks of your identity, like, say you introduce someone, they're like, "Who are you?" And you're like, "First and foremost, I'm a sprinter." Sorry, no, I'm taking it. All right, if you just, like I said, if you want to make sprinting a big part of your identity, how fast do you need to be running 100 meters as an adult male? Be harsh. Just say how you feel.
We need those
I don't
standards.
want to put a number on it. Okay, like to make. Okay, so to make money out of the sport.
No, you got to go fucking 9.5 to make money.
Well, yeah, in Australia, like 10-1 making so Rowan didn't. It took him a long time to make money out of it. And he went to the Olympics. So, but I think you still have it I've still got it as an identity, and I suck. And it's because it keeps me together.
About this, I'm hoping I'm talking about something I might be. I'm looking for a number. I just want you to say sub 12. Yeah, I want you to say sub 12. So when I run it,
yeah.
So he just wants an answer.
No, sub 12 would be my answer, and it's an answer that I gave to. We have university interns come and learn under us and observe us for a handful of weeks. And when someone rocked up at the start of this year, he was like, "What's a good time?" And I'm like, "That how long's a piece of string? Whatever." And I said, "I reckon if you can run sub 12, you're faster than probably 99.99% of the population." And I think that most people think that they can do this. But they can't.
Every man thinks he can fight, fuck, and run a sub 1200.
Pretty much. Do you remember when they did that race at the Sydney Track Classic? Probably not. They had Jared Hayne, they had Billy Slater, they had Greg Inglis,
fast NRL players,
Lockie Turner from from Union, and many of them, they couldn't crack 12. I think
Jared Hayne can't. How heavy? Jared Hayne's weight fluctuated quite a bit. Same with Inglis. Inglis was quite a large person.
Hayne did go sub 12. He ran, I think, in the mid 11s. But I think that there would be an assumption that just by looking at him on the field that he would have better speed. But and he would really excel in certain parts of a race. But 100 meters is actually quite a long period of time to run at high intensities, and that final 30, 40, 50 meters even, he's probably...
is that where they start eating shit? It really is. Or is that everyone who sucks? It's their back end that kills them. Is it a thing to an extent chumps can accelerate? Or is that
it's just its own skill set, and in no circumstance in field sports are you going to repetitively do what is, maintenance of high velocity. It's mostly going to be about building to high speeds, and then they're certainly not going to spend any of their training resources on speed endurance. Like, what's the point in that? It's quite high risk. It's better off just getting better at your sport and developing general acceleration and speed qualities.
Yep.
We like that. We love that. We love hearing that. Yeah.
And what are some fast AFL players running? Would you have any idea? What are the faster guys?
I don't know, but they do these halftime sprints.
At the granny.
At the granny. And Mad Jack Daw was winning them on a yearly basis.
What?
Jacob, you're in Melbourne, but you're not a big AFL guy, right?
No, I'm pretty big, I'd say.
Yeah, because that's my favorite sport, along with track and field, as a Mad Swans fan. Yeah, Mad Jack Daw won a bunch of them. Patrick Dangerfield won a bunch of them.
Dangerfield, he doesn't look like a sprinter. Jeez, just looks so chunky.
He's powerful, but
I know. Yeah.
He's the AFL's Johan Blake.
He's more like Walter. He's like Walter Dix. I don't know if you know Walter Dix.
Great name.
Oh man, he was. If we're going to look at videos, just quickly find a Walter Dix, just thick nugget.
I'll add it to the queue.
Get him on it. So there's no relationship. The fitness is so specific, isn't it? Because even forget AFL, because I think they have better work capacity than NRL guys. But NRL, especially Jared Hayne and stuff like that, 80-minute player, he has fitness, and so speed endurance very much is a different quality to that. Has to be
entirely. If we're gonna call speed endurance the maintenance of high speed,
what do you call it?
Well, that's it's the maintenance of high speed, right? Like, but I'm only saying that because
speed endurance does sound oxymoronic.
And yeah, and then when you have those sort of broad terms, when the people are prescribing training, sometimes speed endurance can mean repeat 300 meters with low recovery.
Not the back end of your 100. Yeah, that's very different.
So back end of the 100 is what I consider speed endurance. Maybe once you've hit maximal velocity, how well can you maintain it? That's speed endurance, and like that is that's its own skill. And actually it's the best way to train is by racing, to be honest. It's trainable, but it's mostly addressed in competitive environments.
Right.
It's hard to motivate someone to do that really well, and you can train it, of course, but yeah, there's really no other sporting context in any other sport in which you're looking to get to really high speeds and then just hold on for dear life and have the space and the just the time availability without getting someone hitting you, or even just the literal space, 20, 30, 40 meters of yardage in front of you, like a paddock. It doesn't really happen too often.
Oh, and that dopamine spike the team sports athletes get, any sense of open space, just instant euphoria. Probably forget what they're doing.
Even better is knowing someone's chasing you. That's the best feeling in sports. It's the best.
Yeah. Living like a dog.
Yeah.
And another nebulous term that you've commented on a bit, and it's saying that I've had trouble wrapping my head around, again, because people should just talk a bit more explicitly about what they mean by the terms like stiffness, because like, again, people generally speaking in the fitness field talk about stiffness as such a negative thing, like the idea of like stiff back, there's just a lack of movement options, but then it's talking about in this positive light. And again, obviously they're not referring to like not being able to move your back or various parts of your body. People talk about like stiffness, which I think some people like it's tendon stiffness. I think like the scientific understanding now, to my understanding, is that it's actually muscular stiffness that we're looking for, like the ability to isometrically contract and hold a position as you express force. And I'm assuming that helps you deform the tendon. Do you have any thoughts on better words, or do you ever use the word stiffness, like Talat?
I don't really. I've never used it in a coaching environment. At no point have I said hit the ground stiffer, because I don't know what that's going to accomplish. And I think that my main contention with the term stiffness is that I think that's people. I think there needs to be a differentiation between physical and neurological stiffness, and so a lot of the tendon stiffness studies and stuff like that, from my understanding, and I'm not in literature, so correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the studies are essentially looking at either the tendon or the muscle or whatever it is, and they're just applying force and seeing how much deformity there is in shape or whatever it is. So that's kind of like the physical properties of the tendon, like how the collagen fibrils organize, things of that nature. What's more important, and especially for the implications of training, is the neurological side to stiffness. And that's sort of what you're talking about, whether it is muscular, tendon, whatever it is, but the ability to generate stiffness through training, through the brain organizing this. And I think that something that like Angus Ross, who's a Kiwi scientist, he did this really cool study with a bunch of eccentrics, isometrics and stuff like that. And the conclusion from his study is that stiffness is mostly a neurological phenomena, and it's specific to the task. So we shouldn't look at, for example, because I went down this rabbit hole of trying
coordination.
It's coordination. Stiffness is coordination.
With it, hearing all that, I'm like, it's coordinate, because if it's just you doing the thing, you've just got coordinated.
Yeah, and I think where people can go the wrong way with a term like stiffness is that they will try to create physical changes and assume that it's going to transfer to something completely different. So an example may be putting yourself in a position which demands stiffness. I'm going to say something like a calf isometric.
Yeah.
Or maybe even they do something which is slightly more similar, like a pogo jump, and think that it's going to have immediate transfer to sprinting because you've kind of increased the physical tendon stiffness through heavy resistance training or through plyometrics, and assume that you're going to hit the ground with a greater level of stiffness, when it may not be the case, because it's a completely different task, and the brain has to organize itself to be stiff. It's not just like the tendon. Tendon is dumb, it's non-contractile. Like, you have to put it in the right position. Your brain has to organize the task well. And so how do you like develop the capacity to generate stiffness at a limb which is hitting the ground at super high velocities, and your body's moving at 12 meters a second? And really the only way is to be quite healthy in general, go general, and to do the high speed running.
Timestamp.
Yeah. I hope that does that sort of make sense with
keep dropping generals. Yeah, you got your payment before the show, didn't you? One last
stiffness is coordination. That's what I'm saying.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's good. That'll be the clip from this show. Unless we go even harder in a second. One last thing before we get into the Linford Christie worship sesh. I got called out for being bro sciencey on my take on quarter squats not transferring to sprinting and jumping the way people think that they do. It got called bro sciencey because there is a study. There's a bunch of studies where people got the same fucking results, just squatting however. Apparently that's not that exciting though. The study that everyone jerks it to, there were 28 highly trained collegiate athletes. So I had a look at the protocols. They don't really tell you about their sprint training. I'm guessing they were just doing whatever fucking training they were doing before. They gave them like an undulating periodization with the quarter squats, and then half squats. There was a group, and then there was full squats. Quarter squatters took half a second off their 40-yard dash in 12 weeks.
I'm going to start doing them.
What?
No, but come on. Like, you're not fucking highly trained. Someone was, as soon as I saw that, I was like, we're dealing with something that was hand timed. It was electronic timed. I'm like, this is gotta be bullshit. Can you take half a second off someone's 40-yard dash by changing their squat ROM?
What do you think my answer is? What do you think?
Yeah.
And
we're getting the guy on the podcast because he's pretty evidence-based. He's good hypertrophy evidence-based guy, so we're going to talk about that. But we have to reconcile this fucking quarter squat.
What was the other people's results for the full, and did they not improve at all?
Squats was okay, and full squats improved the smallest amount. The thing is, though, they in their training protocol, all they had was like general lifting of weights, whatever your fucking squat was. Apparently, the ROM of nothing else fucking matters. It's just the ROM of your squat. The fastest thing they had in there were power cleans. As far as I can tell, there were no plyometrics in the program. So, sorry, getting back, this is a separate point. The main thing is, I think because they dosed the squats the same, irrespective of ROM, it was just a load management issue for the cunts who were full squatting. Like, they just had more tired legs. They weren't peaked. Whereas the quarter squatters, it was like, that was just doing nothing to them. All the other training was fucking adequate.
Yeah, but saying that,
fresher legs.
Wouldn't that make the half and full squat people shitter, and just the quarter squat people slightly improved? Because we're looking at half a second is quite a bit. So it's not like it's not like they're getting worse. That's what it should be. With what you're saying, how like their load was just managed a bit better. But yeah.
It's based on the assumption. It's based on the assumption that getting better at squatting in any form makes you faster.
Which goes against my fucking worldview.
Well, I mean, my general rule with speed development is that if you're looking for the answers for speed in the gym, you're looking in the wrong place for the most part. And
the frustrating thing about this call out is I know this guy doesn't even give a fuck about sprinting, let alone has even like spent any time thinking about like, how would I program for someone to get faster? Because if you're like, what squat do I do? You're thinking about it through the sprinting lens. It's like, you're already fucking out to lunch, in my opinion.
You've lost. And your specificity posts are always like just incredible bait. Like, I remember I very rarely like get in the comments of anything for the most part, unless I'm
coming to save me.
And then this one time I was just maybe having a bad day, and this guy was like,
I could tell.
This guy was just, I was very civil. and he was pulling out gym specificity in the most random environments, where he was looking at like those training halls in Germany where they create javelin simulators,
purpose-built throwers facility that like fucking anyone could just go and access. No, he shared the fucking post I did the other day about quarter squats being dumb for the sport specificity. He's like, does this guy read research? And it's like, yes, actually, that was one of the few days of the year I did read the dumb study that everyone's jerking it over. And it's like these same cunts will chastise people for going in on one study. But all of a sudden, when Gassy Boy steps a foot wrong because I don't fucking identify as evidence-based. I mean,
you got Greg Lehman.
As the great Luke Tulloch said, we're all evidence-based at the end of the day. Like, I just hate the identity of it because, again, just shit like this.
Look, this is why these sort of thoughts and stuff, like it's why I'm glad that I'm like have my foot half in the fitness industry. Like it's just
you can just go to
it's my part. Job. So I can just, I just go do my shit and train my athletes, and I don't really have to like worry about upholding the structural integrity of the fitness industry. And I'm glad that that's not again.
What, you think you got less responsibility going in and educating the youth? You're like, there's no fucking consequences to this.
Oh yeah, I forgot it's your teacher.
Nah. Yeah, no. But as far as squatting and speed and this, joint angle specificity, like. Yeah, it's not really something. Look, I'll probably cut squat depth as we get further and further through the season, but it's not because it's more specific. Right? Yeah, it's just a little bit easier. Like at the moment, we've got no one's squatting. We do flywheel squats and leg press because it's just a little bit easier on the back, and they're just beaten up because they're doing more and more running, and that's just. And this is just
400 kilos on some cunt's back to get a stimulus. Like that's kind of just the other side where I'm at with it. Like you said, like leaning into comp, shit's already fucking pretty fired up.
Yeah, you just want. It's I don't know. Something which I was talking with when I was presenting this workshop last week is that there's just ultimately there's the billion ways to skin a cat when it comes to speed development, being a track coach, and that's why I love doing it. I like being able to put my own flavor on what I'm doing because I acknowledge the fact that, in the same year that Ben Johnson won the gold medal at the Olympics, he squatted 300 kilos, bench pressed 180 kilos just days prior to breaking this world record. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Carl Lewis says that he never even did weights, and he started his off season running 800s, 600s, 400s. Ben was starting at running 30s, trying to get a good 30-meter time and doing a lot of tempo running. And they've pretty much completely polarized philosophies with Tom Tellez and Charlie Francis. And these could be straw mans, right? Just to prove a point. But overall, like you can do it whichever way you want. And so it's why I don't really get mad or don't really get cut when people suggest otherwise, because there's likely been someone who's quarter squatted their way to incredible performance. And
you're
that's okay.
Fucking entertaining an extra half second on your let alone I can't imagine what full squats are doing for your 100. That's like a full second you can take off 100 with quarter squats.
If you're improving half a second in 40 yards, you're really slow and you sucked in the first place. I'm sorry.
You're not highly trained. You're not. You can't be.
That's what speed
is. Throughout.
So yeah, speed studies haven't really looked at sprinters ever. No one who's cracked over 11 meters a second has been involved in a speed study.
I love that. So just appeal to your god of choice.
Like, so just, in this, at some stage, speed becomes unfathomable, when someone is running that fast. It's even myself as a guy who can run 10.5, 10.6 meters a second, I am incomparable to I'm incomparable. Like if I raced you, Angus, like I'd flog you, and it would seem like a big distance between us, but it's an even bigger distance between myself and someone who's actually good. It's like the Brian Scalabrine being closer to LeBron. It's a different ballpark.
What is the top meters per second for like elite guys? Are they like 12 meters per second?
Yeah, but Bolt was at like 12.6, 12.5 or something along those lines. And
moving, it's really moving.
It's
a second.
It's
12
outrageous.
Meters a second. Oh, 30,
it's crazy.
Almost. It's 12.6 is 12.6. It's just.
It's unreal, man. Like, but Sue being 10, he didn't run more than 12 meters a second. He capped out probably like 11.7 or so. And he
so
still
you
ran
run
9.8.
9.8 going. Okay.
So how does that work?
But because his acceleration so quick, so he just spends so little of the race in the slow phase because he's ran the quickest 30 of all time in the semis.
Everyone's going to have their own graph, and in the same way we're talking shit about maybe Jared Hayne being likely decelerating at the end of 100. His graph would have looked like a pyramid almost, right? It would have gone up, gone down. That's the way I run. But someone can have a more linear one, slower acceler, longer hold, blah blah blah. Like there's a million ways to go about running a 100, 200, 400, whatever it is.
And you don't try change that strategy and get like the graph sort of better. You just work on that, like work on their own strategy and just build off that. Or
you should be trying to identify strengths and weaknesses. An example at the moment, which I guess it's not a problem, but just something which I'm trying to work on with an athlete. We've been lucky that we've got these GPS units, which I'm chucking in my athletes as they race, which is really cool. And they're really high hertz GPS units. So we've got them validated against OptiJump and Laveg lasers. So these are the gold standard 20K per meter type thing, 3K per meter or 20K laser guns. The GPS is just as good. So we're pretty sure this data is good, and we've got an athlete who's getting close to 11 meters a second, which is really good.
Name and shame them.
So H, we talk about this. H, he's getting close to 11 meters a second, but he runs like 10.9. Nearly 11 meters a second should be someone who's running 10.6 or something like that. So there's these massive holes in his acceleration.
I never thought about that. But at least you can say I have felt what the elites feel.
Yeah, and that's what we tell him. You should feel awesome, like that you have this skill set, which is so hard to develop. So it helps me as a coach and him as an athlete understand how can we find, shave off time. How much are we losing in 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, or how much are we losing between 90 and 100? And the other fascinating thing as well is, in training, he's hitting maximum 10.2 meters a second. There's maybe like a 10% differential between race and competition speed for this guy specifically. It's just interesting for me to play around with this and try to figure out what can we do to make him better. It's just a fun little problem solve type thing.
Is there ever a fear of making someone slower? Or have you got to be a bit of an idiot and you got to be tinkering too hard?
I feel like you have to try.
You can acutely make someone slower by saying something, but it's very hard in a chronic sense. As long as it's very difficult.
Would it be a fatigue thing or an overthinking thing, or you've injured them?
It'd just be injured. Yeah. Like if you get injured, you'll get slower.
You can't ruin fast.
Yeah, I think you could probably overlift someone.
What about the pennation angles? Yes.
Yeah. Pennation angles.
Isn't that they don't like the full ROM because it fucks with the pennation angles?
Oh, similar to the tendon. I don't know how stiff this thing is. I don't have a freaking ultrasound. I don't have a guillotine.
Come to our realigning pennation angles seminar. Doing one with Brandon on 9th and 10th of March. Pennation angle workshop.
He loves that shit. He really is in on science. He loves it.
Now, Franz Bosch got me onto the pennation angles because he was like, it's the architecture of the quadriceps. They can just contract and relax really quick.
I do love more time. I do love like anatomy. Truthfully, it's very cool. But I just sometimes reconcile the fact that I can't see I don't know how it's changing over time. And so that's why more and more I'm becoming less obsessed about the hardware and more about the software. And, what can we do to influence the brain's capacity to contract harder, contract faster, like relax this, overcome this stress. That sort of thing within the brain is what excites me more than being like, let's just get a fat ass, even if we do measure glute girth because it's important.
Apparently there's sub elites versus the elites. It's the extra girth in the glutes and the hip flexors.
It's high correlation.
It all comes back. Everything's a bodybuilding contest, powerlifting and now track and field. That image actually was it in both of our feeds tonight? Who posted it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry. Someone posted. I'm sure you have seen this image before. Someone posted the cross-sectional. It's like,
oh yeah, and they've got the heat
view
map.
of someone's pelvis. And it's like, this is how big the ass is of a sub-elite sprinter versus elite sprinter, and they're just big dumpy.
And this
hip
is
flexors as well, because you got to pull that leg back through.
Yeah, it's like TFL is the biggest differentiator. Glute max
in terms of cross-sectional area. Wow.
TFL, glute max, adductor mag, these sort of hip extensors, everything around the thigh to create hip extension are just disproportionately monstrous. And then those more proximal structures, gastrocnemius and stuff are relatively smaller. But then what people would do with this information is like, okay, we need a huge ass. Let's go and hip thrust. Let's go and
big RDL.
Are you doing this right? I don't know, but anyway.
That's why it's so good seeing Mladen Jovanovic just go in on what's his name for his force velocity profiling just again and again.
The JB Marin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think JB, I'm sure he's put out some good stuff, but it's like
JB,
if you get faster, your force velocity profile improves.
I can never knock JB because JB is one of he wasn't the first to do it, but he has certainly assisted in popularizing heavy resisted, sprints. And so he's a large influence on the almighty heavy 10. Same with your
because when Oscar first got into track, I remember the conversation was, sleds work, but you got to go. I think it was like fucking 10% of body weight was the heuristic or something. And like, I don't know if was this people were saying like for acceleration and upright. Whereas what is it currently? What are the thoughts on the sled and the use of weight in both acceleration and then do you use it for upright running?
Look, whatever the research and the discussions on Twitter or anything like that is like disconnected.
You can't distract this guy.
No, not me. It's literally everyone in the sport, right? Like these high level coaches, they kind of do whatever the fuck they want, and they do whatever they've done for a long period of time. And now resisted sprinting has just gone to another level with the invention of the 1080. But what I use personally is just do really heavy, depending on the surface, 40-50% over 10 meters. I really like it. And then I've been stretching the resistance out to 50 meters to try and get athletes to continue to generate horizontal velocities. And
is this because Marcel accelerated for so long?
He accelerated so long, same with Bolt, because it takes a long time to reach like 12.4 meters a second. I don't know if it's conscious. It's not a conscious strategy to say, let's slow down it just, the graph, the graph goes like really sharp. And then from the start, maybe we're at whatever, 90% velocity at 20 meters maximum. And then it
really is.
It's super sharp, and then it peters off. And then so if it's petering off and the rate of acceleration is extremely minimal.
Does this look at all levels of sprinting somewhat like this? Like most people, even if you're a bit shit, even if you're elite, most people are sort of hitting 90% of maximal velocity within that sort of period? Or would you say shitter people maybe even earlier?
Yeah, shitter people probably earlier, because it's they have a smaller window. They've got Seedman might be at like 90% in 5 steps.
Dude, he was so erect on the second step. He pulled the reverse Angus. And actually, Jacob, that's a really good segue. Can you pull up? I don't actually think it's the first clip I prepared.
Dr. Bike loves Seedman sprinting. He even uploaded a video of him sprinting the other night. And I was like, what the?
All right.
And, Dr. Mike obsessed with
Meekins.
Joel Seedman's sprinting technique and shitting on Meekins whenever he talks about flexibility, which I enjoy because Meekins has taken shots at me from time. It goes both ways. I think Meekins has a shit deadlift. He's a legend. Adam Meekins is a legend. Who has a shit deadlift? That's not a crime. Like,
I know my deadlift sucks. I can't be fucked.
What do you deadlift?
I haven't done straight barred forever. I did when I was playing AFL when I was like 20. I dislocated I kept on getting my shoulder popped out, And so in between rehabbing, I just deadlift and front
The numbers,
squat.
Mason.
And so I hit 240 in between footy games. Yeah.
It's the shittest lift, and it's my best lift.
I used to like it.
The intersection with like the Angus and Jack Edwards intersection is at the deadlift.
You can clean more than me.
Or I get more likes on Instagram. If I can take that.
It's bro taken.
Wait,
or yours.
I can't power clean more than you.
It's because I can't full clean. So I may as well.
God.
All right, so we're going to be reacting to some of Angus's first heavy sleds.
No, just spoilers. Jack has been privy to this footage, but I just sort of
for the listeners
talk about it. Yeah,
for the viewers,
sacrificing myself for the greater good. Can we zoom in at all, Jacob? I know you're new to the OBS thing. It's all good if you can't. I can
zoom it in for you guys. Or not.
That's getting smaller.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh yes, Scott University.
No. No, wrong. Solid. So this will just go on repeat.
So what I was thinking here, I was just like aggressive shin angles, and stay low. And mute me, Jacob, because it's unnecessary noise.
Oh, mute this
down for some others. Yeah.
And I think that what we're talking about when you sent this to me is that, you know, you definitely successfully went quite aggressive on torso and shin angles, but maybe too much, and probably overforced it. But for the most part, you know, this is your first time doing this, and it works well.
So shit angles can be too positive.
This shit. Wait, sorry, we'll get back to Jake in a second. With acceleration, this shit, but me already knocking on the door of sub 12. Surely we're talking lots of low hanging fruit, or is this just I'm getting too G'd up, aren't I?
That's it. I don't know where you're getting this sub 12 number from. Like,
do you think I'm way further off this than what I think I am?
I don't know, and I don't think you know either.
These guys need to be pulled back to earth.
You know what I'm speculating off?
You're going off average relay times, and that is not the way to go
partially,
about it.
I'm also going off people sending me text messages about Ash McMahon's performances like the next week in a 400 and stuff. But what I haven't told anyone else yet, though, is that Ash McMahon was wearing joggers in our 4x100 relay.
It's such a wig out for me, right? Because I was on the board of Ash was the president of UTS Norths, which is one of the biggest sprint. It's one of the biggest athletics clubs in New South Wales or in the country. And I was also on the board because I was working at UTS Sport at the time. And so it's just weird that these worlds have collided where I've got Angus Bradley and Ash McMahon as weird sprint rivals who see each other once a year. And
yeah, because I was ahead of him last year.
I think you would love Ash because he is he's not he coaches youth athletes. He would happily, he's like, everyone's just gonna deadlift, squat, snatch, you know, he will power clean the house down.
He deadlifts 270. I've seen that.
Wow.
he's a proper beast, and he would be eclipsing 100 kilos comfortably. And
he's so
a big reason why I have done some competitions this year is when I rocked up to comp, he went to be like, "Oh, Jack, you're not competing. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, like my adductors are sore, my Achilles." But then he's like, "Just let it go." Just it's like no one cares.
Like an M40 national champion.
It's just like no one really cares. Just let go of your ego and race. And I was like, you know, Ash, like, give me 2 weeks, I'll come back. And 2 weeks later, I came back and raced with him. And he's like, you still got it. And I'm like, thanks, Ash.
No, Ash is both years. He has. And I don't think it's deliberate psychological warfare. He's been the only friendly cunt on the starting line. Everyone else is just probably nervous, but like I assumed they were faster because they had meaner.
The seriousness.
Whereas because Ash is so nice, I'm like, well, this guy has to suck. But then he just goes and dusts everyone.
He would have done like 10 races. So he probably was doing shot put and long jump. What a
so he's just out there competing variously.
Like it all and while coaching. Just Just the bait. He'll bring some Teds to the track as well. Like he'd have a couple of beers after a race or two and stuff. Like it's just, I think you two would like each other a lot.
Nah, fuck. I got to maybe we end up getting him on the.
Sounds
podcast.
like you in 10 years.
No, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah,
plus 35 kilos. Yeah.
Oh, he's got that. I think that was what hurt about it. Like I'm rewatching our race just side by side, and he's got like same stride frequency, if not a little bit faster than me, and so much more mass on the legs, so much more length. I'm like, how is he whipping them around? Like, anyway, I got to make some improvements. Sub 12. I'm knocking on the door of it. I'm telling you, manifestations. Let's get some go to my first clip that I had teed up, Jacob. This will help me further manifest, and we'll see what Jack thinks about this outrageous once in a lifetime track performance from our friend Johan Blake. Actually, I can say friend of the show because we got a pick with him at the Com Games.
Is this Bolt and Blake one?
Yeah, sorry, okay. I only wanted it. I'm over Bolt at this point. It's played out. It's cliche. Where
are we looking at
to the 200?
1926 Brussels, yeah.
I call it an 1899.
It's a nutty run.
Your reaction times don't mean anything to me. I run all my shit on the fly.
I've got a feeling that Walter Dix might be in this race. Let's see.
Really?
It's possible. This is his era.
What did Walter Dix do? He was just yacked and running sub 10, or was there?
I mean, firstly, when he was racing, it was like 2011, so I would have been 16, 17, and just the fact his last name was Dix was the best.
You're like, hell
yeah. But he was just a short guy who was very stocky and strong, and he was very much like a veteran of the circuit. That was seemingly in every single race, and had this really like, American football style of running.
Jacob, you're scrolling back and forth. You're dancing all. There you go, mate.
There we go.
Sorry.
Look, there he is on the right. So we do have Johan Blake here, but in lane 6, we've got the real star of the show, Walter Dix.
Let's see him calling him out. We got time for this. Jack, I'm taking enough time of your week. Whenever you got to go,
there he is.
Check out in the sunnies.
In the sunnies. Let's go.
He's the Muggsy Bogues of track.
He is very, very good.
Oh, is he that stout? That was probably a bit disrespectful.
No,
Muggsy Bogues doesn't get enough respect.
People love Muggsy.
Like, Bolt characterizes him as a beast.
As a beast.
Real fervor in his job.
He was just such a pit bull of a runner.
Designs on taking down.
Well, I don't know, because like when I look at Johan Blake,
testing himself,
just all the assumptions is that I would align him with Su Bingtain, like being a great starter. Was this race an anomaly for Blake?
Good clean start.
Well, I think that when it comes to Blake, I mean, firstly, Walter Dix just like this looks more phenomenal because of how good his bend was.
Is he right next to Walter?
Yeah, he runs like a 19.5.
Wow, keeping up.
Oh, it's just nuts, man.
I didn't realize. Yeah, Dick was there the whole time. Dick led him into the straight.
Just when we thought it was Blake, it was Dix the
really
whole time.
Wow, I'm seeing that again
for him, setting him up to come home. Go take us back to the start. I want to see Dick come out of the blocks because it must have had insane aggression.
Here we are. Where is he?
Here we go. He's just beside Blake, so he's in the top. He's fourth from the end.
Walter Dix got out well already.
It's not necessarily out of the blocks. It's sort of like 30 meters in is where he really hits his stride.
Because he's leading right now. Oh, no, he's not.
No, he's just been...
Yeah, so I think Johan Blake he's had such an interesting career. In 2011, he won world champs at Daegu, and it was the only one which Bolt didn't win due to a false start. But I think everyone acknowledged him as an incredible talent. And he also, shortly after he had a really bad hamstring tear. I think his body at this stage is a bit different. He was quite lean, a little bit smaller. It was like 3 or 4 years later, and his biceps and his shoulders and his chest had like tripled in size, just looked a little bit like a different athlete. And then he's hung around for another 12 years. He still competes on the circuit, and
he's still going, right?
Yeah, he still competes. He still runs sub 10 once in a blue moon. And so I just have such a huge, like, he was never my favorite stylistically. I think he's a very complete sprinter. I think obviously his speed endurance I thought was always awesome, but I have a lot of respect for him because I don't know if many athletes, who are 2, 3, 4 tenths off their best would continue to just keep on doing it. And I think that there's like a super Jamaican spirit about Johan. And I think the people of Jamaica love him so much and have so much pride in him that he would just continue to keep going. And so I do, I like.
Bolt really just showed up, did the thing, and then fucked off. No disrespect, obviously, the GOAT.
Bolt did Beijing, London, Rio. Like for a sprinter, that's such. Okay. And also he did Athens. He was in Athens and didn't make it through the 200s as like a young lad. So
was he like 18 in Athens?
Four Olympics. He didn't cover fuck off, but he was incredible.
Yeah, right.
He would have been quite young. He was still figuring out whether he wants to play cricket or do athletics at that stage.
Crazy.
Fucked.
Imagine his bowl speed.
Yeah, I know, the bounces.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. There we go. Yeah, Bolt had more longevity than what I give him credit for. Yeah, I probably just had that idea in my head that how it was in my head is, he stormed onto the scene, fucking minced through 3 Olympics, which, like you said, does play out over the best part of a fucking decade, especially the qualification process. You don't just fucking step onto the track and walk straight into an Olympics, no matter how quick you are. But then I was like, because he did retire under injury, was it?
It was kind of planned. I think he finished in 2017.
It was
Beijing World Champs.
This will be it.
It might feel like it. He sort of came and went to a certain degree because he broke the world record in 2009 and then continued to race for another 8 years.
Was that the 958? When was what year was the 958?
That was 2009 was 958 and 2008 was the 969 in Beijing where he's running and slapping his chest across the line.
Yeah.
And so that was just like that was for the world. That was everyone's first impression of Usain Bolt.
It was disgusting.
I remember watching it live and just like screaming. I was like, "What?"
He ruined the sprinting for me. It just wasn't interesting because to see someone come out, play around, break world records, run a couple of seemingly more serious attempts, blitz the world record, just completely out of reach of fucking anyone, and just leave this hole behind him. It's like when did you ever find out about Ed Cohen when you were going through a lifting phase?
I maybe because I think one time I was doing like those frog deadlifts and you're
that's a key.
Ed Cohen used to do that. And I'm like, cool.
No, Ed Cohen, like you find out about him if you ever on a powerlifting kick and you're like, oh, every powerlifter sucks compared to Ed Cohen. Like he was 100 kilos, like lifting more than the super heavyweights and stuff. And it is really hard. So many rules have sort of changed in powerlifting, but you just left looking at everyone else to be like, come on, hasn't anyone here got any talent? Or fucking isn't everyone trying hard? But Eddie Cohen is he has the physique of an orangutan, which is just unbeatable for powerlifting.
With Ed Cohen, was there like a what if ism about him? Because to me, I can't fathom how with Bolt he was so dominant for so long, and there's still this thing which is like, what if he did X or what if he did Y? Like he should have run 9.4. He should have. What if he tried?
Conversation. What are the two lads? You got to. They were the anti-Weck, and obviously Weck was seeing the head over foot. He would have been slapping the head.
I mean, you had Michael Johnson. Former world record holder in the 200 saying he's got a bad running style.
Surely Michael Johnson goes head over foot. Everyone goes head over foot. But
he's the most linear, he had to change
he's basically an A skip in motion.
He had to change
That's a good way of putting it.
He is, and they had to change his running style because he tore his hamstring on numerous occasions. So I don't know if you've ever watched him run, but it was very low knees. And very very extended, like just karate chop hands.
Who's this? Michael?
But it's very, very Michael Johnson.
Oh,
I think I always call him Ben.
Well, Ben Johnson is another. He won.
Was Ben big anterior pelvic tilt as well? Or was that just Michael?
Ben was. I mean, Ben was the big squatter.
No, that's why I get confused. Okay,
yeah.
I think I have watched much more.
Quick screen share. I got it up here.
Yeah, get up. And then cut to the Devon Allen, and then we'll get into the Linford Christie. I can tell Jack's just been fucking dying to see some Linford.
I like Devon too. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Skip back. We lost a few frames there. Oh my god.
oh, the stack is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, PRI crowded an absolute meltdown.
Yeah, Zach Couples is down bad.
Relative motion. With such an extended spine.
Oh, no free promo here. What is this?
Hey, get that off.
They look good. Those
We'll
Hershey
put a
skulls.
GPP logo over that.
Yeah.
I want that to be Jacob's fish. Get the sardines out. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you, we'll release
It's
some
the
GPP
law.
sardines if things
Yes.
go really
Are you Portuguese, Jacob?
No, East Timorese, but my dad spent a lot of time in Portugal. But yeah, it's
well.
shout out to
ambiguous.
shout out to Didier, the sardine king. What do we got up next?
Go to Devon Allen. I thought you were a bit Spanish.
Nah, nothing.
What?
No.
I knew the Indonesian Timorese thing, but yeah.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Go shut the fuck up.
Devon Allen. Yeah, this is a
Race
cracker
gets me
run,
going.
man. Yeah.
What a race to start our live coverage. And we're away first time, and Grant Holloway in the white singlet gets his traditional flyer. Devon Allen with him at the moment. Holloway,
It's just there.
relatively
He
clean,
hits
just clipped
another
that barrier.
fucking
Devon
hit.
Allen coming through here, and Devon Allen's going to
Holy
upset
shit.
Grant Holloway. 12.84.
This is-
Wow.
Scintillating stuff from Devon Allen, a massive lifetime best.
Okay, I love this race a lot.
Cut the sound and give us a few more replays, Jacob.
Holy
So-
crap! I thought I did not see him coming. Let's go
This
again.
is awesome to me because the guy
Oh,
he
sorry,
beat
let's go back a bit.
is Grant Holloway, who I actually think is probably the best male athlete in track and field.
Is that the guy on the left with the white top?
Yes. He can do it all, man. In college, long jump, hurdles, sprints.
Why is he in the hurdles then?
It's probably his best. Like ultimately, I think he will break Aries Merritt's world record. But I actually think so. He always gets out well, accelerates well, very fast over hurdles 5 and 6. But I think he is actually maybe too fast for the hurdles. And as he gets into
Overshoots.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
interesting.
the takeoff mechanics of hurdles are probably the most important variable. It's about how little speed you can, lose as you go over the hurdle. And so if you get too close to the hurdle, you have to create a sort of a block
More vertical.
going into the hurdle. And I think that I don't know if he's got the rhythm yet. And I think at some stage in his career, he's going to annihilate the world record.
Perfect race.
Yeah, because at the moment he gets beaten in the world champs by this guy, Jamaican guy Hansel Parchment, in the last 3-4 hurdles every single time. It happened
So
in
it
Tokyo.
keeps happening. This is like PTSD for him seeing Dellen come out of the corner of his eye.
Whereas Devon, you can see him those hurdles. He maintains the speed through the hurdle
His
in those
pelvis
last.
is so low compared to those guys, though. What's he doing?
He's a shorter guy and he can still navigate it. Devon's a freak athlete in general, obviously. Like
Show us
playing
one more time,
NFL.
Jacob.
Oh, one more time.
This is my second favorite comeback since. Have you seen Nick Simmons 800 meters for the 2000
Yeah.
US Olympic trials? Just the horniest kick you've ever seen in your life.
What's
Let's
his
get real
nickname
slow
again?
here.
Is his nickname the Buffalo? Or
I don't know.
it's like something like that.
But I need a cool track name. What can I be? The Slug.
I think you've definitely got some mongoose energies.
Okay, I like that.
I don't know if-
M1 Mongoose.
So I don't know if you can sort of see it, but these last few hurdles, Grant gets really close and he has to sort of create a block.
Yes, yeah. It's almost like
And
he's
whereas
setting up a fucking
Devon,
basketball dunk.
can we go back like 2 hurdles? Sorry to go into this one, but I just thought I'd take this opportunity to do
That's
a
all right.
bit of hurdles education. So these first few, you can see Grant. If you could just pause it.
Oh,
It's so awful.
Got to be
viewership.
reactive here, Jacob.
Yeah.
You got to be reactive.
fuck.
So
Sorry.
Over the next hurdle, I want you guys to look at the relative foot position of Grant and of Devon, and we're going to try and track it as we go over these last few
Yeah,
hurdles.
give yourself a few. Slow down those frames for yourself,
It's-
Jacob.
And
Yeah.
And it's a good lesson in how foot, where the foot lands, dictating the maintenance of velocity.
Hey, where's that final touchdown before the hurdle?
So like
Devin is distance, but because Devin's got shorter legs, I guess it doesn't fuck him as hard.
Yeah, I guess there's a bit of parallax going on here, right? But it will just continue as he takes off. That's the position that we're looking at. So Devin, like you can see even here, Grant foot well in front of the body, creating that kind of braking force. Devin's able to, like, he's not at touchdown yet, but it's like a stiff shank.
And then he does touch sprinting shapes. Yeah.
Straight over the top of it. And Devin just nailed it so well in this race. I love it. Hurdles is the best.
Hurdle, yeah.
That was my shit growing up. I loved it.
Yeah, I gotta.
Can you see? Oh, that one hurdle, man. What is that? That's just nuts from Alan. Anyway,
it's clean.
Lovely.
It's I've got to live in this hurdle fantasy now because as soon as I do it and I realize I'm not Devin, it's just heartbreak. Where do I get the ego? I've never been good at sport. I don't know where it comes from.
Instagram.
Yeah, honestly. No, but I didn't feel like anyone was getting around me for my actual athleticism. It's actually, no, you know what? Like, shout out to my Instagram followers because I'm always overwhelmed at how supportive they are of my feats. Like, when I started to get a lot more attention, I shied away from posting my lifting because I had so many amazing strength athletes or field sports athletes or elite coaches follow me. I just didn't want to show any of my lifting because I'm like, the gig will be up. But then you just see, like, everyone's impressed by something. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying.
I think for the most part, support. Yeah, people just respect effort and consistency for the most part. And like, it's a good point in regards to social media. It's why I like, even I'm a little less self-conscious about the way I perform or the weights that I lift or even the way I look, which would to some people be like, relax, man, you still have a six pack and you can power clean however much or whatever it is, but just don't care. Like, if you just keep rocking up and being a generally nice dude.
When I play faux therapist in week 7 of the mentorship, what I tell people about sharing their stuff on social media in general is like, you often realize that you're the biggest cunt in your life. And then you instead of your own internal inner critic, you start sharing shit online and everyone's like, oh, you're actually really good. But like, yeah, you get hate and stuff like that, but it's really only like massive pages. Like it's only, I am just starting to get consistent hate. And like, I love that. But
I've had a bit of hate very infrequently and from the most surprising of sources. I'll tell you another time, but it was good. It was good fun. I got a kick out of it.
Let's get up some lid for Christy so we can get to the real gossip.
Okay.
Oh, wow. This is some ancient footage.
That VCR noise is getting me G'd up.
Oh, my ears.
Ooh, that is a bit horny. Go back. Oh, wait. Is this a full set?
It's a continuing.
I feel like we can live without the sound. Yeah.
I totally agree. So, first, I think this footage is actually shot in Australia around 2000. Linford was doing some training in Narrabeen and also down in Canberra.
You know this track?
I can't recognize it. This may have been ACT prior to its renovations, but man, there's so many things I love about this clip.
Oh,
beyond just the old school aesthetic of it, the long tights and whatnot. I don't know who this guy is. This guy's a weapon, obviously. He's literally
Jesus.
Literally flying.
Speedler.
That's crazy.
We can't even watch him, but I love what Matt Watson has done for the whole plyometric universe. And teaching the fundamentals of things which his high jump coach have taught. But it's cool because you can see it at the most elite level here. Just the toes up, the sort of foot pulling underneath the body. And what I love about it, again, on this point of stiffness, everyone wants stiffness in every single context, but you look at these hurdle jumps and even still flat foot, like is patient on the landing, comes off the ground beautifully, doesn't rush through the movement, and just something super beautiful about the way he runs off the hurdle jumps. And everyone does this, and I don't know why, but it's just right. It's what every track coach has ever done.
See, I don't see much of this, the running out of it.
It's because you probably haven't seen the
track
people.
Because I don't hang around actual track people. Yeah.
You just see people do hurdle jumps in the gym.
That's one of the things I made a note to ask about. Like, okay, I'm going to run out of my hurdles. I got to make some hurdles.
It's how you feel like a legend. But it's just nuts, man. Like, I love the arm action, very high arm swooping action.
Is there ever a time and place? Shit question, because obviously there's always at the one scenario. But how often do you find yourself commenting on arm swing?
Not very, very rarely.
Admiration and be like, looks cool. But if in terms of trying to eke out better performance, is it ever a consideration?
Every now and then I do, but I think for some reason you're just an arms guy or you're not, and I don't know. It should be an integrated part of teaching sprinting mechanics. I think a lot of the time when people are cueing arms, what they're trying to do is to create a change in the lower body mechanics by altering the arms.
Yes.
Or, the torso rotation. But personally, I'm not a big arms guy. I got to be honest. And I don't think there's anything wrong in cueing arms. It's just not my thing and it's not my style. I've tried to get some people to just free up their upper body in general and be less tense, like we're sort of talking about with the jaw and the shoulders. But I'm not like, have your hands like this or move your arms in this sort of manner. It's more smaller usually. Yeah, it's just, to me, is a small detail, which when you're dealing with guys who aren't looking for 0.2 seconds and they're looking for a second or two, if I'm
running 12:02, I'm looking for those 0.2 of a second. Did you see the Lance Brooks? I think it was Lance Brooks. He did the study where he got the elite sprinters to run without their arms. And I think they managed to hit like either 95, it might have even been like 98% of max velocity, but you essentially turn into an ostrich because start to compensate with lateral flexion.
Yeah, I'm unsure. It could even be a task specific skill. Some coaches do a lot of no arm running. What happens if you've done no arms running for every sprint session of your life and you get asked? Anyway, I'm not a big arms guy. I guess that's my point.
Very illuminating, right?
Yeah.
Do you do much no arm work? Is there?
Yeah, definitely do.
Evaluating.
Yeah, we do a lot of
constraint, something a bit different, or what are you looking to coax out there? Vibes.
Yeah, I think a little bit of vibes. We do a lot of wickets, dribbles, things with arms in different positions. I think usually perturbations of the upper body are trying to, I guess, test the integrity of the trunk and the pelvis. And so if you get things moving in different directions, something has to compensate for that rotational power. So it's just a bit of dynamic core work. Let's use that term, hey? Then
do you get G'd up about the wearable resistance? That's something that I find interesting, and like I more just looking at it as a vessel to allow you to further explore a fully constraints-led approach to technique refinement.
I'm sure it's awesome.
About it, or you just.
But it's I'm coaching like 15, 20 athletes at a time, and I don't want to buy 20 sets of Lila Tech. You know what I did buy? I bought at Aldi. They had these. They're meant to be glute trainers where you had tubes on your heels and then you attach it to a belt on your waist. And I bought a few, and Randy Huntington calls these activator belts. And so I bought a bunch from Aldi and whacked them on some of my athletes just to see what. Then they were like, "This is cool." I'm like, "It is, right?" Yeah. But we didn't really follow it up too much, to be honest. So it's just a bit of novelty. It's a bit of novelty, and
Dr. Mike didn't give us any data.
Nice. He was like, "This is pretty cool," but my coaching's very bare bones, right? Like I see them for not enough time.
You can't say that when you got a flywheel.
That to me should be the standard of bare bones.
Fair enough.
Everyone should have a flywheel. Yeah.
All right. Jack's got a real job, and we've taken too much of his time this week. Jack, actually, if you listen to this by acceleration monster, Jack, is there anything else you got going on?
I think I'll do a few more workshops next year.
Hell yeah!
I want to do one in Melbourne in April, which would be really cool. Just teaching people about sprinting, the that's my shit. Other than that, just feel free to say hello. And if you have any questions about sprinting in general, I won't bite. I'll always down for a chat. So thanks for having me on.
He only judges himself. He'll actually be really nice if you send him your shit sprinting clips. He'll be like, all right, chief, here's how you go sub 12.
It's essentially, I'll give a full bullet points and shit. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Jacob. It was nice to meet you. And
likewise,
thanks for putting these clips together. And,
no worries.
I'll buy him a ticket to your Melbourne seminar. Company upskill.
Oh,